my name is Jen Guile. I work at NGINX, part of F5, and I'm our head of product marketing for NGINX. I don't know that we have a primary way yet. I would say there's broadly three ways. So one is what we're experimenting here at KubeCon with as a demo platform. One is in asynchronous events that we're doing. You know, we might host a webinar and then let them access Instruqt on demand later so that they can tinker around with the lab. And then the third way that we're experimenting with it is as an actual part of webinars where people log in, and instead of it being that like, I'm going to sit here for an hour, they actually do the same demo that the person leading the webinar demonstrated. Actually, I think it was from somebody at Hashi. I'm trying to remember exactly who referred me, but I was talking to somebody who does training at another company. I was looking for a platform that would let us do labs on kind of like a large scale where we don't have to be manually creating logins, you know, sitting there and watching people, you know, and troubleshooting the lab environment itself. I'd rather troubleshoot the lab than the environment.
Yeah.
I mean, the main problem would be that the labs in the past were very manual to build because we're using an environment that maybe isn't quite so friendly toward cloud native Kubernetes type of environments. And so, you know, by having a lab that our technical people can go in and just, you know, in less than a week, build something that can be scaled out quickly has been big for us. Yeah, so it had to be something where, yes, somebody using it could break it, but like you have to really try to break it.
Yeah.
So we're looking for, you know, if it does get broken, it's because people are going off the trail and doing interesting things, not because there's an issue with the platform. Yeah, so both sides of it. It is a good option for people who are, for example, new to Kubernetes and need some like bumpers in place so that they don't fall off.
Yeah.
But then once they've experimented a little bit in a safe environment, you know, they can attempt to break it, and that's, to me, an indicator that they're learning, they're experimenting. I would say it was the ability to get it up and running quickly, but also that we could kind of self-serve to build our own. We don't need a lot of support, but at the same time, the support's there. We can reach out over Slack and like get a question answered pretty quickly. Yeah, what I really like, there's a couple things. One is the ability to chunk out a lab into, you know, components. Challenges is the Instruqt terminology, so that people can kind of digestibly move through it and be focused on, okay, I'm going to achieve this thing, then this thing, then this thing, and we can measure then, you know, where do people stop, where do they spend more time. So I really like that feature. The other is that I'm able to quickly go in and change a lab guide. Using Sublime, I can just go in, change it, upload it, and the lab guide is immediately, you know, refreshed. They like that it's all contained in one place. You know, they don't have to download anything onto their laptop, their machine. They don't have to install software. They don't have to deploy Kubernetes. They don't have to know how to deploy Kubernetes. It can just be there for them. I would say high level, it's better participation. So, you know, when you run a webinar, you know, people staying around is usually a good sign. So what we're seeing is not just people staying around, but people like obviously being engaged. And you can't always tell with a webinar if people are truly engaged other than Q&A, but you can see that engagement and that learning happening when you can see that they're actually, you know, doing the thing that you gave them.
Right.
Yeah, on the marketing side, at NGINX, we are mostly focused on education, whether it's education for the, you know, cloud-native landscape or our products specifically. And so when we see education go up, we see engagement go up, that means we're getting, you know, more time with our community, and for us in marketing, that's important.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a former trainer. I think you just can't guarantee that learning has happened unless someone gets the opportunity to try it, demonstrate the ability, and maybe even fail. I think they need to have probably two types of people involved if they're going to get value out of Instruqt. One is someone who is, and these might be the same person, good at writing lab guides or instructions in general, be that a marketer, a technical writer, whatever it is. Like having really clear instructions is such a key part to people getting value out of it. And then the other side of that, again, could be the same person, is someone who's able to build that technical back end so that once you're following the instructions, the lab actually does what you want it to do. Yeah, so we're using Instruqt in a lot of different ways, but here at the conference, we're using it as our demo platform. That way, it's quick and easy for our technical staff to just spin up a demo, in a minute instead of having to mess around with their own environment and deploying Kubernetes and all that stuff. So you can see up here, I think he's doing a demo on our WAF, and so he's got a mix of the lab environment going as well as extra windows that open up so that he can simulate like what a real experience would look like to deploy our WAF. Excellent. But in kind of a contained environment. Well, hopefully they adopt NGINX. So we have a large open source fleet of projects, but the one that we're best known for is NGINX open source. Web server, reverse proxy, content cache, runs half the internet. And so we would love to see more people using NGINX open source, both inside and outside of Kubernetes. The booth just opened, so the feedback that we're getting so far is from our booth staff. They really like it because it's simple and easy for them to use. Like it's, the combination of a web UI and command line. We are using it as part of our major events that we do. We do 2 events a year that are education and community oriented. One's called Microservices March, the other's called NGINX Sprint. And we use it as part of a workshop. So again, like people come, they want to learn how to use NGINX. We can do that for them with very little setup. We don't have to send them a prerequisite list anymore. Yeah, the thing that was holding us back from being able to do more hands-on training and education was the hands-on component being something we could spin up easily and recycle easily. And so while we've been doing lots of live hands-on workshops for years, those had a longer planning process. Like it was just more time consuming for us. And so with a platform where we can build it in advance and then scale it out quickly, that was the main requirement we were looking to satisfy.